My fiancée rolled her eyes. Wow, so jealous over a few emojis? When I showed her the texts with her trainer, I said, not jealous, just taking notes. His wife wasn't taking it well when she got the screenshots. Now she's begging me for a place to stay. I've always believed in traditional roles. I know that's not a popular opinion these days, but it's how I was raised. A man provides, protects, and builds a safe, stable home. A woman nurtures that home and the family within it. When I met my fiancée Qley, this was our shared foundation. Her family was deeply religious, pillars of their local church community, where her father, Pastor Thompson, delivered a sermon every Sunday. They were people who cared, above all else, about appearances, reputation, and the sanctity of a traditional family unit. Qley had no desire to work. She wanted to be a wife, a mother, and a homemaker. I was more than happy with that arrangement. I own a logistics and supply chain consultancy, a business I built from the ground up. It affords us a very comfortable life. I provided her with a beautiful home, my home, but one she was meant to make hers. A luxury car and a credit card with a limit she never had to think about. In return, I expected loyalty, respect, and a partner who was building our future with me, not just benefiting from it. For 2 years, I thought that's what I had. The first crack in the foundation appeared about 6 months ago, under the guise of self-improvement. Qley decided she wanted to get in shape for the wedding and hired a personal trainer at a high-end gym. His name was Marco. He was exactly the type you'd picture. All perfect teeth, sculpted muscles, and a brand of motivational charm that always felt slick and insincere to me. She started spending more and more time at the gym, coming home late, buzzing with an energy that seemed to have little to do with her workout. She would talk about him constantly. Marco said my form is perfect. Marco thinks I should try this new protein powder. It was always Marco, Marco, Marco. I'm not a jealous man, but I am an observant one. I noticed the way she'd angle her phone away from me in the evenings, the quick, secret smiles she'd have while texting. The moment of truth came on a Saturday afternoon. We were sitting on the couch, planning our honeymoon. I had my laptop open, showing her a resort in Bora Bora. She was supposed to be looking at it with me, but her attention was on her phone. I saw her type a quick message and then laugh, a small private giggle. "What's so funny?" I asked, my voice casual. She jumped, startled. "Oh, nothing. Just a meme a friend sent me." A few minutes later, I went to the kitchen to get a drink. My iPad, which is synced to her phone for convenience, was sitting on the counter. The screen lit up with a notification from Instagram. It was a message from Marco. I knew I shouldn't look, but I also knew I had to. I opened the app. It wasn't just one message. It was a long, detailed conversation stretching back for weeks. It was filled with heart emojis, fire emojis, and compliments that were far too personal for a trainer and his client. He called her Angel. She called him my handsome beast. But it was the most recent messages, from just moments ago, that made my blood run cold. Marco. Thinking about you in that little black dress from the other night, can't stop. Stop, you're gonna get me in trouble. Is the big man boring you with wedding talk again? You have no idea. At least the honeymoon will be nice. Maybe you can come visit me there. Marco. Just say the word, Angel. I'll be on the next flight. I stood in my kitchen, the cool marble of the countertop the only thing grounding me. It wasn't just flirting, it was a planned, ongoing emotional affair, filled with disrespect for me and our relationship. She was sitting in my living room, using the life I provided her to plan a fantasy rendezvous with another man. I walked back to the couch and sat down, my expression unreadable. I waited. About 10 minutes later, her phone buzzed again. She smiled as she read the message. I leaned over, my voice calm. "Is that Marco?" The color drained from her face. "What? No. Why would you ask that?" I picked up the iPad from the coffee table and opened the message thread. I turned the screen towards her. "Because of this," I said. She stared at the screen, her mouth opening and closing. The panic in her eyes quickly morphed into indignation. It was the classic defense of the guilty. Attack. She rolled her eyes, letting out an exasperated sigh. "Wow. So you're going through my private messages now? I can't believe this. So jealous over a few stupid emojis?" The dismissiveness, the sheer, breathtaking audacity of her gaslighting, was the final confirmation. She felt no remorse. She only felt annoyed that she'd been caught. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't get angry. I looked at her, then at the screen, and then back at her. A cold, quiet resolve settled over me. Not jealous, Qley, I said, my voice dangerously calm. Just taking notes. She scoffed. Whatever. You're being a psycho. I'm going to my parents for dinner. She grabbed her purse and stormed out of the house, slamming the door behind her. She thought she was punishing me, leaving me to stew in my jealousy. She had no idea she had just left me alone to build her gallows. Update 1. The moment the door slammed shut, I went into mission mode. Qley's fatal mistake was believing her own narrative. That I was a simple, predictable man who could be managed with a bit of manufactured drama. She had no idea that my mind, the one that designs and executes complex logistical solutions for multi-million-dollar companies, was now focused on a singular personal project, her complete and total social demolition. My plan wasn't to hurt her. It was to let her own actions, and the actions of the man she was entertaining, deliver the consequences directly to the one place she and her family felt safest, their pristine, unassailable reputation. First, I needed to know my enemy, not Qley but Marco, and more importantly, his wife. I spent an hour digging through Marco's social media. His profile was public, a monument to his own ego. He was married, and he wasn't shy about it. His wife, a woman named Vanessa, was featured in dozens of photos. She was a fitness competitor, with an unnervingly intense stare and a physique that looked like it had been carved from granite. Her own profile, which was also public, told an even more detailed story. She was a co-owner of the gym. Her bio read, CEO of Marco's biggest fan club, don't test me. Her posts were filled with captions about loyalty, couples' goals, and not-so-subtle warnings to other women to stay away from her man. She was, in Qley's own words from a few weeks ago, a possessive, crazy psycho. Perfect. I created a new, anonymous Instagram account, a blank profile picture, a generic name. Then, I began to craft my opening move. I couldn't just dump the screenshots on her. That would be too simple. She might think it was a prank or a doctored image from a rival. No, I had to bait the hook. Had to make her ask for the proof. I needed her to be an active participant in her husband's downfall. I sent her a single, simple message from my anonymous account. I'm so sorry to bother you, but I think you deserve to know the truth about what your husband does with his female clients. Then, I waited. It took less than 5 minutes for the reply to come in. Vanessa, who is this? What are you talking about? Me? I'm a member at your gym. I've seen things, I've heard things. He's not respectful of your marriage. Give me a name, or I'm blocking you. Qley Thompson, your husband calls her his angel. He's planning on meeting her during her honeymoon. The 3 dots that indicated she was typing appeared and disappeared several times. She was hooked. Vanessa, you're lying. Show me proof. This was the moment. I didn't send her the whole conversation. I sent her just one carefully selected screenshot. The one where Qley suggested Marco visit her on her honeymoon. It was damning, but it was also just vague enough to be deniable on its own. The reply was instant. Vanessa, this is nothing. This is a joke. Girls say stupid things. Is it a joke when he tells her he can't stop thinking about her in a black dress? Is it a joke when he calls his own fiancé the big man who is boring her? I had deliberately twisted the context, making it seem like Marco was the one engaged in complaining about his own fiancé. I needed to make this personal for Vanessa, to make her feel like she was the one being mocked. Vanessa, what are you talking about? Show me. I sent the next screenshot, the one with the black dress comment, the one where Marco called me the big man. The trap was sprung. He said that? About me? Me, I don't know who he was talking about. I just know he was saying it to Qley. There's more. A lot more. Weeks of it. Send it to me. Send me everything. Now. I sent the rest of the screenshots, a long, scrolling story of their emotional affair. As I sent them, I added my own commentary, my own carefully chosen words to pour gasoline on the fire. Me, she lives with him. The big man. Her fiancé. She's the daughter of Pastor Thompson from the community church. Can you believe the hypocrisy? They think they're so clever. They laugh about him behind his back. She's using his money to pay for her sessions with your husband. I feel so sorry for her fiancé, and I feel sorry for you. You both deserve better than these two. I watched as the scene receipt appeared under each message. I had armed a volatile, unstable woman with a nuclear bomb of information and aimed her directly at the thing the Thompson family valued most, their reputation. The final reply from Vanessa came about an hour later. It was no longer a question, it was a statement of intent. Vanessa, thank you, I know where she lives. I blocked the anonymous account and deleted it. My part in the direct action was done. Now, I just had to wait for the shockwave. Update 2. The demolition was scheduled for Sunday afternoon. I knew this because the Thompson family hosted a post-church luncheon at their house every week. It was a neighborhood institution, a gathering of their most devout and influential friends from the congregation. It was the perfect stage for the performance that was about to unfold. I spent Sunday morning in a state of grim anticipation. I went for a long run, I cleaned my house. I did everything I could to distract myself from the impending explosion I had engineered. Qley had been staying with her parents since our fight. She had sent a few half-hearted apology texts, which I had ignored. She was still operating under the assumption that I was just a jealous boyfriend who needed to cool down. At around 1:30 in the afternoon, my phone buzzed with a text from a number I didn't recognize. It was one of Qley's cousins, a younger girl who had always been kind to me. Cousin, OMG, you are not going to believe what is happening at my aunt's house. It's insane. I called her immediately. The background of the call was chaos. I could hear shouting, a woman's voice, raw and furious, and the sound of something smashing. What's going on? I asked. This crazy woman just showed up, the cousin whispered, her voice panicked. She's screaming about Qley and some guy named Marco. She's reading their text messages out loud on the front lawn. Your name is on the guest list for the wedding, and she's reading it to everyone. Pastor Thompson is trying to get her to leave, but she's not listening. She just threw a brick through their living room window. My plan had worked better than I could have ever imagined. Vanessa wasn't just confronting them, she was putting on a public spectacle of the highest order. I got in my car and drove to their neighborhood. I didn't go to the house. I parked a block away, in a spot with a clear view of the unfolding drama. There were already a dozen neighbors out on their lawns watching the show. Several were filming with their phones. Vanessa was a force of nature. She was standing in the middle of the Thompsons' perfectly manicured lawn, a wild, cornered look in her eyes. She was holding a stack of printed-out screenshots, waving them like a battle standard. "This is your pastor's daughter," she screamed, her voice hoarse. "This is the woman you all look up to. A homewrecker and a cheat. She's trying to steal my husband. She's planning a honeymoon with him while she's engaged to another man." Pastor Thompson, his face a mask of pale, sweaty horror, was trying to reason with her. "Ma'am, please, let's discuss this privately. You're making a scene." "I want to make a scene," Vanessa roared. "I want everyone to know what kind of family you really are. All pious and perfect on Sunday, but you're raising a snake in your own home." Qley was nowhere to be seen. She was probably hiding inside, listening to her carefully constructed world being torn apart, brick by literal brick. The police arrived a few minutes later. They managed to calm Vanessa down and eventually convinced her to leave. But not before she had delivered a 45-minute sermon of her own, filled with profanity, accusations, and the unvarnished, ugly truth of her husband's and my fiancé's betrayal. I watched as the police car pulled away. The crowd of neighbors slowly dispersed, whispering among themselves. The Thompson house, with its broken window and its shattered reputation, stood silent. The war was over. The fallout was just beginning. Final update: it's been 4 months since the day of the public demolition. The aftermath has been a slow, cascading series of consequences that have methodically dismantled every aspect of Qley's privileged, protected life. The first and most immediate consequence was the destruction of her family's reputation. The videos of Vanessa's rampage, filmed by multiple neighbors, were all over local social media within hours. The story of Pastor Thompson's cheating, lying daughter became the biggest scandal their church community had ever seen. The following Sunday, Pastor Thompson's sermon was delivered to a half-empty church. The week after that, he was asked by the church elders to take a leave of absence. He hasn't been back in the pulpit since. The shame was more than her parents could bear, and they directed all of their rage at the source of it, Qley. According to her cousin, who has been my reluctant but reliable source of information, the week after the incident was a living nightmare for Qley. Her father, a man who had never raised his voice to her in her life, told her she had ruined their family. Her mother, whose entire identity was tied to her social standing in the church, told her she couldn't even look at her. They gave her an ultimatum. She had 1 week to find somewhere else to live. They were cutting her off completely. They were ashamed of her, and they wanted her out of their lives until she could learn to live like a proper Christian woman. She was, for the first time in her life, completely on her own, and she had no idea how to survive. She had no job, no savings of her own, and no real-world skills. She tried calling her friends, the ones who had been her bridesmaids. They all made excuses. No one wanted to be associated with the scandal. No one wanted the drama of Vanessa, who was now in the midst of a very messy, very public divorce from Marco, showing up at their doorstep. She was running out of options and running out of money. The last I heard from her cousin, Qley had been living out of her car for a few days, showering at a local gym and living on fast food. Then, last night, the inevitable happened. At around 10 o'clock, my doorbell rang. I looked at the security camera feed on my phone. It was her. She looked thin, tired, and completely broken. I opened the door. She just stood there for a moment, not saying anything. The old, confident, entitled Qley was gone, replaced by a ghost. "Mark," she finally whispered, her voice cracking. Can I please come in?" "No," I said. She started to cry, real, desperate tears. "Please," she begged. "I have nowhere to go. My parents kicked me out. My friends won't talk to me. I have no money. I'll do anything. I'll get a job. I'll pay you back. I need a place to stay." I looked at the woman who had rolled her eyes at my pain, who had called me jealous and psycho for discovering her betrayal. The woman who had been so willing to destroy our future for a cheap thrill. "That sounds like a stressful situation for you, Qley," I said, my voice devoid of any emotion. I let my words hang in the air for a moment, a perfect echo of the conversation that had started it all. "But you're a grown woman. You need to stand on your own 2 feet. Her face crumbled as she recognized her own cold, dismissive words being thrown back at her. "Tell your parents to figure it out," I said, my voice hardening. "Or Marco, or any of the friends who thought your behavior was so funny, but don't bring your problems to my door. It's not my responsibility." I closed the door on her sobbing, leaving her alone on my porch in the wreckage of the life she had so carelessly set on fire. My revenge was never about jealousy, it was about accountability, and I had simply taken notes and delivered the final grade.